Good afternoon. I think it's afternoon. So I think students are still trickling in. Hello to our students in Rome. But we're going to go ahead and start because there's a number of you that have to leave at 1 o'clock. And obviously, the afternoon studios begin at 1:30. So I would just like to introduce myself. My name is Carrie Penabad. I'm the director of the undergraduate program, and I am serving as the sort of host for this event. And what I'd like to do is just for those of you who this may be the first time engaging in the upper level design studio sequence, is that this is our upper level studio lottery. And what that means is that the individual faculty that will be presenting studios will come and to the podium and present their projects and the focus of their semester in 5 minutes. We've asked each of them to stay to one slide. This is just for a matter of keeping within the time frame. However, a number of the faculty will be here. If you have any additional questions regarding the scope of the work or the content of the semester, please don't hesitate to go up to them. This is the perfect opportunity to ask them questions before you actually submit ballots. I want to remind you that you should all have ballots. Danai informs me that you should all have ballots. You're going to need to submit ballots by the end of the day today. So by 5 p.m., please have your ballots submitted to the Office of Academic Services. Please make sure that you rank all studios, starting with your first option through to your final option. Don't leave blank spaces. This makes the process more difficult. We really try to accommodate everyone, so I can assure you that in recent years we've accommodated, I would say, more than 95% of the students within their first or second choice. Danai, was I correct when I said to submit it by 5 today? Okay, Danai is correcting me. Friday at 5. I saw Aaron, and I wasn't sure. Yes, I saw you. I saw you, and this made me think that perhaps they said it was until. So I'm going to stand corrected. Everybody submit by Friday. This will give everyone a little bit more time to contemplate. Okay. The only other thing that I want to mention, which is relatively new in terms of the upper level sequence, is there are several of the studios that are 3-credit option studios as opposed to the 6-credit option studio. So if you are interested in the 3-credit studios, I would ask that you rank those. There will be fluctuations between some studios that will be offered in the first semester and some in the second. It's clearly indicated in your ballot which studios are the 3-credit options, and when the faculty come to present, they will also reiterate this. If you have any questions about the difference between a 3-credit or 6-credit studio, again, please stay behind, and I would be happy to clarify it, as would any of the other faculty. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the podium over to Professor Bradley, who will be the first to present, and then Professor Behar will follow. We're simply doing this in alphabetical order.
Hello, I'm Professor Wynne Bradley. You've probably seen me around campus quite a bit, and if you have not, I look forward to meeting you. This is called the PAIR program, and I am telling you about it more in preparation. This is not something that you're going to have on your ballot this semester, but this is a program that you need to prepare for. So if you're interested in, if you are a rising 4th year, if you are a rising 5th year, if you're a graduate student, this would be an appropriate program for you to apply for in the fall. I guess it would be because we're going into the spring, so it would be the fall of next year after summer. So you would apply for it this time, kind of in the fall, in the next semester, when to start in the fall. It is a 9-credit program. It's called the PAIR program, which is Professional Advancement, Internship, and Research. It is a 9-credit. It pairs a studio and a seminar, research seminar together. You do need to prepare for it in that you need to be able to leave the majority of your day schedule open. because it is based on a 40-hour work week. 20 of your hours will be at your host office. You will be actually working and getting paid at an internship site. And 20 of those hours will be dedicated to a research project that you're doing in collaboration with the office as well as the school. So you need to be able to kind of prepare for this. I think this is the fourth semester. This will be the fourth semester I think we're running this. This was a test, and we're kind of following the test model. You need to apply to it similar to the Rome program. So you do need a portfolio. This portfolio is something you'll use to be placed in offices. You do need a resume, and you do need a statement of interest. So what are your professional interests? Are you more interested in urban planning, in architecture, design, landscape architecture? Are you interested in government, planning, zoning? Are you interested more in construction management, and so on? So within your statement of interest, that's where you would let us know what your kind of professional aspirations are, and I would help to place you there. Some students have actually gone out and found their own placements, and that is absolutely possible. You can bring the office to me, we can meet, and see if it is an appropriate fit for the university. I think that's probably all the information you need. I am on campus. You can see my email is wbradley@miami.edu. And so you can kind of track me down, email me, come to my office. I'm here most of days, and we can sit down and look at your individual aspirations. Like I said, the internship does get paid, so you do get NCARB hours towards licensure if you are somebody that's seeking or interested in seeking your architectural licensure. And that's the overview. Again, you will not rank this, so you won't see this program on your ballot, but it is to prepare for the following semester. Thank you.
I'm sorry?
Email me these. I'll include it on the web version, but this was the one you presented.
Okay.
Which is the first one.
We cannot put it in. Okay. Okay, well, I'm going to describe I have a number of like 5 images for you guys, but I can show them to you, so I'd like to invite you to see them. Where are they going to be? Where are the images going to be for this presentation? We're going to place it on the web. So the images that I would like to show you are going to be in the web. So I guess I'll describe them to you. So the studio takes place in New York City. It's a 7-week course. And the idea is to do a loft tower in Soho. Because we're working in Soho, I guess most of you may know what Soho is. It's a fantastic neighborhood in New York City, built mostly in it's a historical district, in fact, but it's the largest cast iron district in America, and I believe in the world. So it's a construction akin to steel and glass, but done at the end of the mid-19th century. It's really, really fantastic. It was a light industry warehouse district first, and the district went kind of lost its a little bit of its shine for many, many years until more or less the 70s, late 60s, 70s, where a number of artists, including Gordon Matta Clark and many others, began open up restaurants, small-scale restaurants, moved into very cheap rental studios, and in a very short period of time, they brought back the district and And the fact is that right now the district has become one of the most expensive parts of the city. It's somehow in between New York University, for those of you that know the big city, Washington Square, and Lower Manhattan itself. So it gets both people, you know, a cross-section of New Yorkers, from bankers to artists, students, et cetera, et cetera. So the studio, the project is, because it's 7 weeks, we're going to work in groups of two. The intention is to go to the big city for 3-4 days and get to know a number of classics. So my first slide is one that has the Empire State Building, the Chrysler Building, and the Rockefeller Center, 3 of the classics that we're going to visit in a tour of Mid-Manhattan. And then immediately after, we're going to go to Soho itself and review the architecture of Soho. The site is a really small but fantastic site. It's a kind of, it has a little squares where 2 grids actually meet, the grid of Lower Manhattan and the iron grid of Soho. So there is a little bit of an anomaly in the grid. There is a triangular square, small triangular square in front of the site. The site is a corner lot with 3 sides, but it's a rather small site. It's about 50 by 50. So I wanted to do a small footprint but a tall building, about perhaps 15, 20 stories high, kind of a small footprint tower. By loft, I mean a very open plan, you know, live and work units, large units, but again, because the footprint of the site is very small, there might be 1 or 2 per floor. So in other words, the plan of the building is going to be rather simple, and we're going to address it very, very quickly. And the project is going to dwell upon 2 aspects, mainly 2 aspects. One is how to relate a project of these characteristics to the architecture of the city at large, and most importantly, because we are in Soho, how are we to relate it to Soho itself? In order to be able to do this, we're going to have 4 projects, because we have to do it in 7 weeks. It's very much like it happens in a real-life office. In a real-life office, we don't have the luxury of 14 weeks to work on a project, but every client wants the project for yesterday. So we have 7 weeks, so that should be more than enough. But I have kind of catered the project to small scale, but important in terms of the verticality of the project, intervention, to make it both interesting and attractive at the same time. But the 4 projects that we're going to study, the interesting part about Soho also is that recently it has been populated with a number of projects by worldwide known Pritzker Prize winner architects. So we have 4 projects, one by Aldo Rossi, one by Sana, one by Herzog de Meuron, and one by Frank Gehry that we are going to zero into. We're going to get to know well as we can, to use them as references together with the architecture of Soho and the architecture of the city as large as references for our project, because we have to develop it really fast. So I want to limit those references to those 4 projects and the architecture of Soho. I think that's pretty much it. Together with that, we're going to see there's one slide that perhaps you want to go see, and that is, you can probably look for that. Soho, Aldo Rossi, Soho, Herzog de Meuron, Soho, Sana, and Soho Judd Studio, Judd, which is a little, perhaps one of the most beautiful buildings in Soho, a cast iron building in Soho that hopefully we'll be able to visit. Is where Judd, the artist, had his lived and work, actually. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Sonia Chow, and this course, which focuses on the city of Havana, is the product of research work that I've been involved in since the year 2002, alongside colleagues in Havana itself, where we were looking at the evolution of urban form and urban codes over a 500-year period, as well as looking at current preservation initiatives that are really working with very specific challenges and opportunities given their context. The city of Havana, as you know, is referred to as the Pearl of the Caribbean, and that is because it has a rich history that is much intact, unlike many other cities across the Latin American and Caribbean region. And so it offers us as architects and urban designers an opportunity to really think about preservation within that very rich historical context. It also allows us to deal with resiliency issues, given that their entire waterfront is very vulnerable at this point to flooding. It's a problem that they've been dealing with for over 15 years. Every time that there's been any sort of hurricane in particular, their waterfront has been very vulnerable. We are very privileged in this studio that we will have the participation of a scholar from Havana. Her name is Dr. Ada Portero. She was at one point in time the dean at the School of Architecture at the Kuhai University. Her specialty is in preservation and looking specifically at the materials and methods of sustainable and resilient practices related to preservation itself. For those of you that are interested in either the preservation certificate or the resiliency sustainable design certificate, you might want to take this course. The program itself is a hotel design that you will actually program. You will be given a site within a block within the very world-renowned Malecón. That is the main face of the city. It's found on the right-hand side of your image as it looks out towards the sea. And that site has had new codes imposed on it within the last year, and we would be using those codes to kind of test those codes to see how they work. And you would be designing your hotel, but also programming other elements to the hotel that you feel are appropriate to that given context. The studio is a semester-long class, and it's a very interesting opportunity for us to sort of melt into one investigation, historic preservation issues, resilient design issues, as well as the kind of social issues that are relative to a very complex and rich urban context. So I welcome all of you that are interested in any of these topics to join us, or if you're interested in hotel design, to please join us, and we would welcome your participation along with our visiting faculty from the university in Havana. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Professor Deborah Franke, and she's Professor Samira Daneshbar. We're going to be teaching together this semester the Healthcare Design Studio. It's a 7-week studio, 3-credit course, and it's Health Design 30-for-30 from careless to compassionate. So really the objective of this course this year is to conduct case studies of clinics in multiple facility types, including clinics within immigration detention centers, prisons, housing, and military treatment facilities, among others. We will be studying these cases from post-industrialization to contemporary times, and the idea is that we can start looking through a historic interpretive research and case study approach how these particular treatment spaces were created and how we can transform those into modern times for more of a patient-centered care approach. Clinics are the clinic design, and I guess outpatient care is kind of the fastest growing segment of healthcare spending. So we're going to see more and more in healthcare design the transformation of clinical spaces to promote preventive care. So through evidence-based design principles, we'll be able to translate lessons learned from these particular clinics from previous times to more up-to-date, more technology-driven, patient-centered care spaces for this time. Samir will explain how the course will be kind of organized. I do want to mention that I'll be also teaching the evidence-based design and research course. So for those that will join this studio, I highly recommend that you also join the other class. That way you will be able to support more your methods and tools for historic interpretive research, case study research, among other methods that we will be teaching on the other course. So, thank you.
I'm just going to read over the project and what the project would be during the course. So the studio's outcome would be production of 30 rooms representing 30 days in treatment of post-industrial human, as well as the transformation of these rooms using patient-centered design. So through interpretation, reduction, and abstraction, the spaces will be translated into physical models that are to be understood in respect to the community within which the case structures and the human condition coexisted. Throughout the course, each student will create 6 physical models. The models will focus on the particular treatment rooms within the case structure. Through consideration of the functional and spatial characteristics of the rooms, the physical models will represent replications and transformations of these rooms within their context. The first set of models will be replicas of treatment spaces that have marked questionable moments in history of modernity. The second set, which are suggestive of an alternative histories of modernized human condition, will be relative transformations of the first set in respect to the community within which the case structure and the human condition coexist. After completion of the course, I will try to put the work together and curate them for future publication and exhibition. Thank you.
So one more thing. We've been selected for a charrette competition by the PDC, and we have to select 4 students that their interest or their development is in healthcare design. We'll be selecting students from our previous healthcare design courses, but also there's the opportunity that students that join this particular course may have the possibility of being selected. It's a charrette that you compete with other universities that have a full-fledged healthcare design program, and the PDC will actually pay for all the expenses. So if that's of any interest, please let me know and see me afterwards. Thank you.
Good afternoon. So the next speaker is going to be Mauro Turin, but I thought I would introduce him because many of you may not know his work. Mauro Turin is a graduate of the University of Buenos Aires and leads the award-winning Swiss-based practice, Mauro Turin Architect. He's a laureate of Europe 40 Under 40, the reference prize that honors promising emerging European architects. He has been assistant professor at the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, the very prestigious one, visiting professor and guest critic at the HESSO School of Architecture in Geneva, and guest lecturer at the Superior Technical School of Architecture in Madrid. His work has been premiated by the European Center for Architecture, Art, and Design, and by the Argentine Fine Arts National Museum. And he has had exhibitions in Argentina, Ecuador, Spain, and Greece. His projects have been widely published, and he is a visiting critic here this year. So please welcome Mauro Turin.
So thank you, Alan, for this introduction. As a matter of fact, I'm very eager. Is that okay? Okay. As I said, I'm very eager to teach here and to propose you my 6th grade upper level design studio for the next spring term, the Steel Proto House project. The objective of the course is that you, through the design of an experimental steel proto house, investigate and understand structures as a fundamental and determinant element of design in the resolution of the function simultaneously in the creation of the form and consequently in the determination of the space and of the shape. The Steel Proto House project will enable you to explore and apprehend through structures what I call a total object. This is an object where the structure is the form is the function is the space is the shape, and all of these are one and the same. During the course, which will be based on making physical models, you will individually evolve to an intuitive and manual modality of work, developing a fundamental research through the construction of precisely physical models, and according with the method of proof and mistake, discovering and evolving with these physical models, just testing different possibilities. As part of this fundamental research, you will define forms of what I like to call contemporary primitive living. You will explore, question, and criticize what living today means. What means today to eat, to sleep, to rest, to work, to clean up, to have time out, etc., and how the human can evolve into all these activities differently. Therefore, you will propose and design how the human can live today in a primitive way. That is, through the psychological and physical ancestral effort, which is completely forgotten today in a way. In a few words, the course will immerse you in a full sensorial experience related with exploring contemporary forms of primitive living, using structures as the fundamental element of design, and using physical models as the medium to define a new conceptual type of experimental steel proto house. The Steel Proto House project, this design studio, will enable you to investigate new design methods, to test innovative steel structural systems, and to explore new spatial characteristics, and to evaluate alternative living approaches. To finalize my presentation, I have the enormous pleasure to announce that as part of that course, you will make a field trip and a workshop with this year, the 2017 Pritzker Prize winners, Earthyear Architects. Indeed, you have taken part of this course. You have the one-time in life unique and exceptional opportunity to make a workshop with the winners of the Pritzker Prize, and in more at the same year they have been laureate. In total relation with the design studio proposed, the entire work of Earthyear Architects is made of steel and iron in the most outstanding, delicate, beautiful, and poetic way, by creating this way lasting and meaningful spaces, or better, I would say, by creating lasting and meaningful atmospheres. Okay, thank you very much. I expect see you many choosing my course during the next term. Thank you. Thank you again. One more thing, sorry. Today, tomorrow, Friday probably in the morning, and the next week I'll be in my office here to respond questions, and eventually if you want to email me, I will respond immediately as well, okay? Thank you.
I would also like to introduce our next speaker, as he too is a new visitor to the School of Architecture, and so many of you in the room might not have had an opportunity to meet him or be in any of his courses. So I'd like to introduce Patrick Reuter as the next presenter. He's this year's Emerging Practitioner Teaching Fellow at the University of Miami. Patrick holds a Master's in Architecture from the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Zurich. And during his studies, he participated in an exchange semester at the Faculty of Architecture and Urbanism in Buenos Aires. He worked as an intern for the Ateliers Jean Nouvel in Paris and as an architect for the architects Richter Dahl in Buenos Aires. In 2017, he launched his independent architectural practice, Patrick Reuter Architecture, in Basel. His work has received the Best Architects 2017 Gold Award and the Swiss Architecture Award. He's also been a 2016 First Prize and nominated as a finalist for the AR Emerging Architecture Award. Alongside the practice, Patrick has taught within Marc Angeli's studio at the ETH and has conducted research on Latin American modernity funded by the Degen Foundation. I'd like to introduce Patrick Reuter.
How do I switch? It's not a touch, right? Hello, everybody, dear colleagues, dear students. Dear Carrie, thanks a lot for the introduction. As you mentioned, I'm an architect from Switzerland, and while I'm in Miami, I will teach a design studio, the South Campus of Miami, a concrete presence, and a seminar, Miami Brutalism. You're more than welcome to join both classes since they are very connected to each other. The design studio's focus is the South Campus of the Miami-Dade College in Kendall. May some of you know the campus since it is very close to the university. It was built in the 1960s and 70s by the architects Pancrost, Ferrandino, Crafton, later Spillis and Candela. The campus is a compact urban complex in the midst of typical urban sprawl and had a huge influence on the gentrification of the area. The buildings are individual but strongly unified by their geometric masses, their exposed concrete and mainly precast concrete, and their generous overhangs, open spaces, and a variety of facilities, sizes and types. I consider it as a very important project within the context of brutalist architecture and concrete architecture in Miami. Original built for 5,000 to 10,000 students in two phases actually. The campus hosts today about 15,000 students and got a capacity of over 25,000 students. Therefore, the campus got immense potential and responsibility within a constant growing, demanding, and changing environment. The courses project focus then on mainly student housing, but as well responding questions such as education, culture, infrastructure, and urban planning and landscaping. Concrete as the material expression and to reduce structural language serve as a basic principle for the course, which hopefully leads us to a very rough, raw, and robust architectural language, including concrete models. So we will work with the material. You're very welcome to join the course. I hope seeing a lot of you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Johanna Lombard. I'm going to be doing the Urban Design Studio. It's organized into 3 parts. The first 2 weeks are the Heinz competition. And if you're in the Heinz competition, obviously you'll know what you're doing. If you are not in the Heinz competition, then we will get started with the Wagner Creek project. Do you all know where Wagner Creek is? Anybody? No. Okay. So Wagner Creek isn't... Kurt, yes, Kurt knows because he was at the workshop. So Wagner Creek is a tributary of the Miami River, and it's really an exciting project. We've been working on it for a long time and teamed up with the Nature Conservancy, and we had a workshop with stakeholders in the area. It runs from the beginning of the Miami River all the way up north into Allapattah, up to about Northwest 20th Avenue. And the Miami River Commission, the City of Miami, have funds to restore the river, and they're cleaning the creek. So the Nature Conservancy has teamed up, and Greg Guanel helped. We did a Miami Public Space Challenge contest that won. So there's a demonstration project. But what the Nature Conservancy would like us to do is to look at projects all along the creek to do infill of public space and buildings. So we'll be working with the stakeholders, which include people from Jackson, there's some schools, there's some private developers, the courts, and a few senior housing. So that's a quick project. It'll have a public workshop, and then we'll work with the Nature Conservancy, and then they would like to take your projects forward to be able to imagine going further. And then the final project of the semester is in Westtown, Chicago. It's a really interesting area. There's some gentrification going on, and there's some major institutions. There's senior housing, there's a desire for affordable housing, there's a mix of ethnic groups. So for that project, we'd be going to Chicago, meet the stakeholders, have a kind of on-site workshop, then come back to Miami and begin to develop the urban designs. And so the objective of this, Liz has organized the urban design program where the spring semester is infill, which is to say, how do you go into an existing neighborhood and build in a way that is respectful of the tradition, authentic to the place, and yet projects for its future. So that's our basic objective. And I'll be available if you have questions after, or if you'd like the syllabus, you can email me and I can send it to you tonight. Thank you.
Hi, I'm presenting on behalf of Professor Veruska Vascones, who is currently in Rome. The studio is called Sunset Park, 0.74 linear movement through architectural intervals. The architectural design studio will focus on one primary project for the semester, the extension of Sunset Park as a green corridor to connect the neighborhood and the new train station. The integration of the architecture and landscape of the train station provides a tangible representation of both the history and future of the community. A student-driven analysis and interest will inform proposals for the station and the development of this major linear public space, to express the character and aspiration of the neighborhood and to demonstrate the transformative capacities of landscape in the social and psychological well-being of the community. Sunset is a census-designated place and affluent neighborhood in Miami-Dade County, Florida. The population was 16,300 at the 2010 census. The coverage area is 9.2 square kilometers. The site is a stretch of 0.74 miles. Students will be asked to design a linear green corridor as well as a train stop. They will have to take in consideration that the design has to address all users from elderly to babies in strollers, bikers, runners, and all types of physical disabilities. The linear park should provide shaded elements, seating areas, water fountains, and different paths for runners and bikers. The station would be embedded in the landscape and provide full bathrooms, a convenient store, and a bike station. She has included images and some more information on the reference and precedents in the file that is going to be uploaded in the website. So you can go ahead and look at the file and encourage you to take the course. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Next semester's, my name is Adib Kuri, by the way. Next semester's studio, the vernacularology studio, titled Lost and Found, would be taught with Professor Teofilo Victoria, who's now in reviews in Notre Dame, and with Yisho Shao, who's a visiting scholar from Tsinghua University. The studio will essentially be preoccupied with the extent to which the ordinary and the traditional resonate in architecture and the construction of the city. The semester will focus on the reutilization of relegated sites and buildings in traditional urban settings through the study and projection of 2 case studies at an urban and domestic scale. The first project of the semester will take us to the beautiful town of Cartagena, Colombia, in the north of Colombia, beautiful Caribbean city, Spanish colonial city. And the site of the project at an urban scale is actually the site of the Bolivar Naval Base, which is going to be relocated. And it's a site that is essentially the hinge between the traditional and the contemporary city, a fantastic site on the water's edge. We will travel to Cartagena as a sponsor studio, so we will travel to Cartagena. We will collaborate and work there with a local university, Universidad Tadeo Lozano, which has a site there in the old city. And then we will develop projects for it. The second project of the semester, the second half of the semester, will take us to China, to Chongqing, to study now at a domestic scale, the scale of a house, a traditional house in a beautiful settlement within the region of Chongqing. And in general, the studio as a whole, let's say, will address how the economies of adaptive reuse can contribute to the preservation and conservation of cultural patrimony, to material culture or otherwise, and the efficacy and practicality of an architecture responsive to traditional materials and methods of construction. It will also address urbanism, an urbanism committed to evolution and continuity of formal and informal urban patterns of merit. Both of the sites have incredible cities or places that we will learn a great deal from at an urban scale as well as an architectural scale. I should say, and Yisho will make a few comments about the collaboration, particularly with China, but I should say that we will be working, as we've done in the past in the studio, with international institutions. In the case of Colombia, we will work with, as I mentioned before, Universidad Tadeo Lozano of Cartagena, Colombia, the University of the Bahamas, and in China, we will be working with a couple of universities, which you may want to talk about.
Hi everyone, my name is Yijo and I'm PhD in Tsinghua University, and this semester I am co-teach here as lecturers, and so I just want to emphasize that I think that is an interesting and great opportunities to join the international studios in UM, because this one is not only about we go out of the country to go to like Colombia and China, but also it's combined with the 2 top universities in China, that is Tsinghua University and Peking University. So welcome to join us.
So yes, I should mention just to end the presentation that this is the second time that we collaborate with the Tsinghua University, and we had an amazing experience last semester. The students come to Miami, we meet him here, we spend time with them here in Miami to introduce them to Miami, and then we travel together to visit these places as a group. We hope to see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So this concludes the presentations. However, Professor Turin has asked me to just clarify that the field trip to Madrid is not merely a field trip, but you will actually be living and working in the ateliers or architectural laboratory for RCR. So you can ask him if you have any other questions. I would like to mention just to make one additional announcement, and that is about the summer studios. We offered 2, I know that we're talking about the spring semester, but those of you that are registering and might be considering the summer, we offer 2 study abroad studios. One is the Grand Tour that could be taken for either 3 credits or 6 credits. And if you have any additional questions about that studio, I would encourage you to speak directly with Ana Regalado or with Professor Frank Martinez, who could not join us because he's currently at Notre Dame for reviews. The other studio I'd like to talk about is the Open City Studio. This is probably the longest running studio or travel studio at the University of Miami continuously for more than 25 years, and it travels to a different city every summer. This summer we will be in Tokyo for the first summer session, and the studio will be looking at sort of infrastructure relating to waterfronts, and if you have any particular questions about that, please feel free to speak with me. That program is directed by Professor Victoria, and this summer, I mean, historically, many faculty have participated in that studio. This summer, Professor Kure, as well as FET, will be joining in that travel session. There will also be 1 or 2 options which have yet to be defined locally. I just wanted you to be aware of those options as you register. So finally, this really concludes our session. If you have any questions, the faculty will remain for a few minutes to answer them. And please make sure that you submit all ballots to academic services by Friday so that we can make the distributions and announce them as soon as possible. Thank you.